episode 8 of New to Hill Country. Today we sit down with Kyle Pertuis of Mindfit Coaching. New to Hill Country is a podcast devoted to exploring Hill Country, Texas. It's great for new people to the area and great for people that have already been here for a while. They're just trying to find out what's out there, what kind of opportunities they can take advantage of. I'm the host, Michael Hines. I'm the head coach at SBG Texas. SBG Texas is a martial arts yoga studio located in New Braunfels, Texas. Find out more information about us. Look at www.sbgtexas.com. Our other show sponsor is LMNT. LMNT is an electrolyte mix developed by Elemental Labs and in conjunction with Rob Wolf. And it's an amazing product. It just really takes care of hydration needs in a way that until you've experienced it, I feel like you won't really fully appreciate it. You're like, oh, I can just drink water or whatever. But yeah, you end up drinking a ton of water sometimes when you're still thirsty. You feel bloated. Without the electrolytes to really hold in the hydration, you're just not getting what your body needs to do what it wants to do. But I'm no scientist, so I won't dwell on that too long. We'll get right into the episode with Kyle Pertuis of Mindfit Coaching. Thanks for tuning in. All right, and we are live. So welcome back to the show. We're here today with Kyle Pertuis, the owner of Mindfit Coaching. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Thanks, Michael. Awesome to be here, man.
So, this is new to Hill Country, and we're just kind of helping people get a sense of what's available here in Hill Country. So I'd just like to know, did you grow up around here? Did you move to this area?
Yeah, so I grew up in Texas, and then after college, was working in Dallas. The girl I was dating at the time was in Corpus, so her sister lived here in New Braunfels, and this was about the halfway point. So we would meet here. We became river rats very quickly, and then after about 20 years out in the Carolinas, we just recently moved back here. About 3 years ago.
Okay. So there's a lot I'd like to unpack there. What did you study in school in particular?
So I studied sociology, interestingly enough, with an emphasis on organizational behavior.
Oh, interesting. Oh, okay. Huh. And have you felt that you used that a lot going forward, or?
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know exactly what led me to that major other than being intrigued by people and groups of people and the way they interact. And I think as of the last couple of months, that may be another whole level of study. But yeah, I think it was foundational for a lot of the work that I did and the approach that I took to things.
Okay, cool. What took you out to the Carolinas?
So originally, I was recruited to play soccer out there, and just loved that area. So after we got married, we moved out, and I partnered in a business out there that I was in for almost 10 years.
Okay. You mind telling us a little more about that?
So yeah, that business was hospitality, and we were in restaurants and catering and events, and just kind of got to a point where I wanted something else. And back in 2009, I went out on my own and launched the business that I have now.
Okay. Cool. And what made you move to this area? Like, you came back to this area. I know you fell in love with it a long time ago, left, and then came back. Talk us through that process a little bit.
Sure. So in large part, it was family reasons. So aging parents, our kids were at a good age to transition, and we knew we didn't want to live in the huge metroplex of Houston, San Antonio, Dallas. So New Braunfels, again, largely for family reasons. My wife's sister and her father are both here. They have roots in the area, and we've always loved this area. And even as quickly as it's been growing, felt like this was a place that we could land pretty quick and really enjoy all the incredible things that it has to offer.
Hmm. What types of things do you feel like you take most advantage of in the area?
Yeah, that's a good question. We love the river, of course, whether it's paddleboarding or tubing or just camping and enjoying time on the banks.
Mm-hmm.
But just I think the small town feel is one of the things that we just love, even as busy as it can seem sometimes. But
Mm-hmm.
being able to hit the farmers market and then pop into Krause's for a beer on a Saturday and
Nice.
grab Weesatch for dinner, and have done that a couple of times, even though with the lockdown, doing what we can to support so many of these restaurants that have been here
Sure.
for a long time.
Sure. I understand. Yeah. I probably haven't done that enough, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah,
But yeah, we've been kind of locking ourselves down and I guess going on almost on rations with the gym closed and stuff. But
sure.
yeah. Uh, cool. And how many you have? You have a big family? You have.
2 kids. Yeah,
Okay.
we've got a boy finishing 8th grade, and our daughter is finishing 5th this year. So we've got
Okay.
one heading into those high school years, and the other into
Mhm.
middle school. So
I see. And
yeah,
how did they feel moving to this area?
it was challenging at first, but
Hmm.
I think they have adapted quickly. They love all there is to do and
Hmm.
have made friends. We got involved with Hope Presbyterian Church, which is a
Hmm.
startup a couple of years ago now, and just have
Hmm.
had great leadership. And
Hmm.
so yeah, I think they're doing great. And other than the 108-degree days sometimes, which we all figure out how to get through, I think we're
Sure.
enjoying it.
That's cool. And yeah, tell me a little bit more about what you do now. You're the owner of Mindfit Coaching.
Yeah, so about 10 and a half years ago, as I said, I left my partnership and I launched an executive coaching practice. So
Mhm.
it's kind of split into 3 different buckets. Some of it is coach development. So I work with business and life coaches that are looking to become certified. And
Mhm.
then I spend a great deal of time with executive coaching, working with leaders,
Mhm.
team performance,
Mhm.
um, those types of things, just to help people improve their overall awareness as leaders and as individuals,
Mhm.
and hopefully take a more systemic approach to realizing that oftentimes stakeholders are beyond those that are invested in our business, right? And that's the
Mhm.
community and
Mhm.
so forth. So yeah, that's how I spend my time. I have clients all over North America and even down into Mexico and
Oh wow.
Nicaragua. And so, yeah, it's been a fun journey, taking me places I probably never would have envisioned.
Mhm.
Getting more rooted here locally. When we moved, I had clients so many different places other than here
Mhm.
that really probably hadn't even gotten out to explore even that side of things. And I know that there's
Mhm.
a huge and powerful business community here locally too.
Sure. Cool. What types of businesses would you say that you're more likely to service? Like, is there a general area where, or I don't know, you tell me. So,
Yeah, so not necessarily industry specific. I think
okay.
when I started, I was focused primarily on working with family-owned businesses that were in transition from generation to generation, right?
Huh.
So mom and pop to key employee or son or daughter or some combination of that. And
Mhm.
then over time, I actually found myself working with some very, very large privately held organizations.
Hmm.
And those were based on more cultural initiatives, looking at ways to bring in um, positive shifts to increase engagement, retention, those
Mhm.
kind of things. So there's not really industry specific. I've worked everything from manufacturing to Cessna dealers to plumbing to lumber yards to bakeries.
Huh.
So it's more about the people than it is what they do.
Okay. I see. I see. And how are people generally becoming aware of you? Like, I'm just kind of curious how that works on, like, how do people come to engage your services typically?
It's when a jujitsu instructor asked me if I'll be on his podcast. So,
Sure.
honestly, I've never done much marketing.
Uh-huh.
Done some speaking in the San Antonio area as far as local
Uh-huh.
goes, but a bulk of what I do comes through word of mouth and referrals.
I see.
And I'm on faculty and do some training with the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching, which does live modules in both Austin and Dallas. So
Okay.
expanding my network that way some.
Okay. Wow. So just all word of mouth. That's beautiful. Well, that means
Yeah.
you must be doing well. Otherwise, no one would be talking about you, right? So yeah,
Right.
that's awesome. Cool. What does it look like? Can you kind of, to whatever extent you're comfortable, can you talk a little bit more about kind of what your services look like? If I were to, like, I'm a company and I call you up, what do you offer me, and how does that work out,
Sure. I think from the beginning, we want to obviously do some discovery. A lot of times I'll have leadership reach out to me for something as specific as strategic planning or whatever. And I think it's important in the beginning to really understand what it is they're looking to accomplish, right? So what is it that, obviously with a strategic plan, you kind of have a sense, but if it's something like, well, we want to improve communication, we just went through a merger and we're blending cultures. So really understanding what the current reality is of the team or the organization, or especially that individual up front, helps create the foundation for the type of work that we might explore. And so sometimes that may be some facilitation around specific topics from the standpoint of leadership development. What are the skill sets? Sometimes it's really individual awareness and having better understanding about who they are and how they're showing up, right? So I use a little bit of a framework which we call core energy leadership, which, to boil that down into simple terms, is really 7 different levels of attitude, ranging from that victim mindset where we don't feel much like doing anything, to those attitudes that allow us to really seek opportunity, take action, be decisive, collaborate with people, tap into our creativity. So there's a lot of different directions that we can go, but what I really see the most value in is helping the client and the organization create that from the inside out, so that they're bought in and they really want to go back in and execute on it and they own it, as opposed to me coming in and saying, oh, hey, read this book, these are the exercises we're going to do.
I see. Okay. Interesting. So how much time typically would it take? How long would you work with a company typically, or is it maybe just depend too much on what the situation is?
Yeah, it depends. I think I find that structuring annual engagements works, because that gives us, often quarterly touch points if we're going to do some more detailed work with the leader and their teams. It may be, twice a month, depending on what we're working on. But that's the great thing about it, the flexibility that comes with what we want to do. We want to make sure that the client's achieving the things that they set out to, and that's my objective. I want to help them create the success they want, help them determine what that pathway is going to look like, and then set them off to do it.
Okay. And could you kind of walk me through? You can make it hypothetical. You can base it on something that was real. You don't have to name any names if that's not the way you work. But could you just kind of walk me through something that you've done, like a particular company that, like, maybe something you're really proud of, they were having this trouble and you came in and by the end, this was the end result. Is that okay? Or?
Sure. Yeah. And I think out of confidentiality, I will just kind of tell you a story, but
sure. Yeah.
As I said, so much of what I did in the beginning was that transitional piece, especially in family owned businesses. And that can be a tough transition, especially when there's a legacy set forth by the parents or the mom or the dad. And those that, whether they're directly related or, like I said, a key employee, that have worked under that leadership for so long, especially if it was, a single generation owner, it can be really, really difficult to let go. And so I think I've actually had a client going on about 8 years, and it's not that I see them all the time, but we've worked together that long. And that was a really, really challenging time, because his father was going to be exiting a very, very successful financial wealth management practice that he had for, I believe, 30 plus years. And so that was tough. His father was moving up and out, and his mandate was, I want to be useful but not needed. And so for my client, that was like, yeah, my dad's going to be moving on, and now I am solely responsible for the future of this business. So there's the whole person approach of helping him understand how to tap into the potential maybe he wasn't seeing for himself, to really take ownership of the fact that he was very capable of not only keeping this thing moving forward, but to make it even better, as well as really getting his arm around the team of support that he had with him and creating a more collaborative culture so that they were all on board and realizing all of the success and the benefits along with him. So without going into the granular details of how we did that, I think that's just kind of a quick snapshot of how I go in and work with people and align alongside of them, right? Partner with them, as opposed to coming in and saying, hey, I'm the expert. This is what you need to do. I think we all want to be empowered to come up with our own answers, and having somebody that can help ask the right questions or help us sometimes hold that mirror up for us so we can really look in the mirror and answer those hard questions is where a lot of the benefit pays off. Wow.
That's a really powerful story. I'm just trying to, I feel a deep sense of empathy for that man that you spoke of, like having to like follow in the footsteps of someone that successful. Those are big shoes to fill. That must. How do people? So, would a person, when you approach somebody like that, do they? I don't know. Do you get a strong sense of the feelings they're going through? Like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, it's interesting that you would express that empathy, because it's so important, as we know, to be able to connect with that emotion and experience it, because those are cues for us, right? And so often we're taught to avoid those and to push them aside. So it's important. They say, right, if you can't feel it, you can't heal it. So being able and being willing to look at those things, to take action that you may not have, becomes really, really important to connect that core thinking with that core emotion to drive the action that you want.
Yeah. And I just, my empathy, I think, comes from, we run the SBG gym here, and SBG has been very successful in other parts of the country, other parts of the world. And I spent some time training under Travis Davison up in Kalispell, Montana. And Travis and his wife, Kisa, have just got things really dialed in up there. They're really overwhelmingly impressive people. So, they're running multiple businesses, they're running multiple gyms simultaneously, and coaching great, jiu-jitsu classes on top of it. And just, me and my wife followed Travis around all day for like 2 weeks. And it was, there were a couple times where he and I kind of had to talk to him just alone and just sort of be like, hey man, this is really overwhelming. This is the product of a lifetime of work. And this feels like a lot to try to do, in like 1 month, or 2 months, try to really implement all this stuff. And he was really sweet about it, and was just sort of like, yeah, I mean, you're seeing the trail end of a lot of work, these were layers that had to occur, and you can't just, you can't do all the layers at one time. You kind of just have to go after one point at a time and everything. But yeah, there was definitely like a sense of like, I sought him out basically to try to, learn from the best, but there's also a certain pressure that comes from learning from highly capable people, is that they can kind of overwhelm you with like, wow, like you've really got this dialed in. Like, do I have the capacity to dial all this in? But,
yeah. I love that kind of that reflection though. And it says a lot about you wanting to follow those that have created that kind of path. And it's easy to get blown away by the outcome, right? The end product, like you're describing. And then we have to dial back and realize that it is about the process, and what do we
Sure.
do every day to engage that process so that we are fulfilled and satisfied, and it doesn't feel like we're never getting anywhere and spinning our wheels, right? And I know when I found you over there, and really, I think you threw me around for one session, and then we had to call it stops. But I just know that the time that I got to spend with you is like, yeah, this guy's going to do good things. So I'm ready for y'all to get open back up, and let's get that gym full.
Yeah, so I'm not sure when this will be published exactly, but yeah, we're obviously observing the lockdown right now, and yeah, we're hopeful to see around mid-May. I mean, could be by the time this is published, there could be all kinds of. I've just kind of let go of these things. It's hard to say what could happen between now and mid-May.
Yeah,
there could be some very, like, if you'd asked me like early March if we were going to shut down for a virus that was, strong in South Korea and Wuhan, China, like, I would have doubted it. I would have said, I don't know. It seems like we'll be fine. I'm pretty sure I did doubt it. And, but here we are, here we are.
I know,
right?
me too. So, we drove back all the way from our spring break trip so I could come to the noon session on Thursday, and y'all were closed.
Oh, sorry.
No, you got to do what you got to do, and it's been crazy. So
yeah, it was definitely hard to make that call.
I know it was.
Yeah, we were in a situation where, because Rob Wolf is one of the head coaches at my gym, we were gearing up for the grand opening party, and I didn't really think too much of the grand opening party. I just sort of was like, I tend to have a pretty how do I put this? I guess a humble attitude towards things. I was like, I don't know, maybe some of our gym members will even show up. I don't know, maybe not. Like I didn't expect a huge turnout. And then Rob kind of hit me up on it and was like, hey man, we can't do this grand opening party. And I was like, well, why? And he's like, I got people like from as far afield as Dallas saying they're wanting to come into this. We actually, because that was buzz that he gets through him, and so I wasn't really privy to that. And he was like, I'm getting people kind of from far afield saying they want to come in here. And it was just when the Corona thing, nothing had quite shut down at that point, but it was, it was hitting the airwaves basically. And we were like, well, we don't want to be a vector point for this community. That would be horrible. Yeah. So we were like, okay, since we can't really say for sure who's coming, I think we need to close this down. And that was kind of hard to do because it was like I was excited, to say, this is officially open. This isn't a soft opening anymore. And now we're in a weird situation where when we reopen, I don't know, I guess we call it the grand opening. I haven't thought about how to brand that.
Exactly. Well, you better have extra food and drink, because my guess is the way people are going to want to get out, that it's probably going to be more heavily attended than it was the first time around.
I have that hope. I mean, that's always the hope on my end. So we'll see. Yeah. It sounds like, Kyle, that you work a lot with mindset. Yeah. And that interests me a great deal. Obviously, here at the gym, I teach meditation, and our yoga program is probably more focused on meditation in some sense than it is on the physical aspects of yoga. I'm just kind of curious for people listening, is there any kind of mindset practice, like something that we could do on a daily or weekly basis that is something that you recommend for people? I mean, you don't have to give away all the secrets or whatever, but if there's just something that we can act on now, just something simple.
Yeah, well, I don't know that I could say anything more about centering in meditation than certainly than and have incorporated into your practice. But I think giving ourselves the gift of starting our day by quieting the mind, right, and finding that stillness within us, and then allowing that to come into some visualization for how we want to not only be at the cause of our day, but how we want to show up in it, and knowing that we don't always see things coming at us. What we do always have is the choice of how we respond to them. And I think that becomes enhanced within us if we do give ourselves the the opportunity to learn how to quiet our mind so that
Sure.
we can make more conscious choices. So
Sure.
yeah, I just have to piggyback on what you're already doing.
No, it's okay. I mean, I have 20 years plus of, experience in meditation. I think the biggest thing I've learned is I'm always happy to keep learning from other people.
Sure.
I try not to take the attitude that, like, I tend to tell people this with meditation, that is, you don't, it's a tricky thing to talk about. When I was on Andy Stump's podcast, I was trying to get into this a little bit, but it was like 1 a.m. and I had a glass of bourbon, but it wasn't exactly in my ideal mental state to talk about that, but and didn't know I was going to be on a podcast. So, but people tend to think of meditation as a skill, and I am really hesitant to call it a skill. And not because I entirely disagree, and I'm not trying to be overly semantic about the whole thing, but like, I try to start every meditation with the idea that I'm not necessarily any good at it. I've got 22 years of every day, twice a day practice, but you really have to start fresh. And I think that's just a good attitude for learning just about anything, or being good at just about anything, is, not being a little too, like, not necessarily like rejecting what you already know and trying to just like jettison that from everything, but also not trying to be too stuck on that. Like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Like that. I just generally find that attitude, not just for meditation, but just anything, where people have that attitude of like, yeah, I know. Yeah, no, I know. Generally, when people are saying that, they really don't know. They like really forcibly don't know something, and just the smartest, most capable people I've ever known tend to be the most open people. They're always trying to learn stuff, like they're just always like, there tends not to be this you rarely see from those people like yeah, I know that, whatever, like that sort of, strong inclination to disregard new information. Like, so.
Yeah. And when that awareness is there's no need to show that you know it, right? Because
Right,
the confidence comes with it.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I think, I think you're right on. And especially as adult learners, it's sometimes so much harder to unlearn the things that we think we know.
Oh, yeah.
To have that zero-based mindset that you were just talking about, and going back to being okay with, hey, let me learn this again for the first time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Love it.
Yeah. No, it's big. There's I won't say it in Korean because I don't know it, but it was translated to me from Korean like something like the perfect student is an empty cup. Like, like the worst student is the student that's overflowing, like where the cup's just like there's nothing to get in there, basically. It's sort of just described to me. I think it's a little more poetic, and it probably sound very different in Korean, but that was sort of described to me by somebody pretty cool in Korea. So I was like, I really like that. So I just kind of try to remember that whenever I go to learn something, like empty cup. Am I an empty cup? But I find it hard. I get arrogant on so many things so easily, but
yeah, we all do.
Yeah, it's hard to hit that reset button like sometimes.
Yeah. It comes with being human.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, hey, it's been really good talking with you, Kyle. Can you run back some info on like how we would contact you if we wanted to reach out, if people wanted to engage Mindfit Coaching? What would be my process for reaching out to you?
You got it. So I think one of the most accessible is either Facebook or LinkedIn. And my name is Kyle. Last name is spelled Pertuis. The business name is Mind Fit, FIT, and then coaching. So www.mindfitcoaching.com is the website, or find that on LinkedIn or Facebook. And yeah, just reach out. I'm happy to connect with people locally. And, my wife has a similar but very different practice helping, especially women entrepreneurs increase their visibility on social media, and that may be an opportunity for her perspective on what she loves about the hill country at some point, Michael. But,
sure. Yeah, I'd love to have her on and talk all about that. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, but this has been great, man. I love what you're doing with this, and I know it's going to take off for you, and just appreciate you reaching out to me. And like I said, I'm ready to get back in the gym and get my training going.
Sure.
I got teased a little bit, right? It's like, yeah, sign up here, and oh, by the way, we don't know when we can open again. And I was like, I'll just have to watch the videos and practice at home.
Sure. Yeah,
but I wish you guys the best.
We're gonna get there. We'll get there. So yeah. All right, Kai. Well, take care. It's been great having you on the show.
Yeah, Michael. Thanks, man. We'll talk soon.
Okay, great.
All right. Bye.